And we are now live. Welcome to the live stream, everybody. It looks like we've already got 2 people in here, so that's nice. I'm going to quickly set the live chat, so I'll try to read everybody's messages that are arriving. Steam is King Productions, welcome to the live stream. How are you doing this evening? Anyways, until some more people join in, we've got a double-headed consist, 2 Dash 9s, I think. I'm confident the CN one is. I'm not sure about the Santa Fe. And I've tried to put together a decent-sized train. I know by many model railroader standards, this is not a terribly long train, but I don't know. Just thought it'd be fun to get something a little bit longer than 4 cars going. Okay, we got a whole bunch of people joining in now. Welcome, everyone. I'll try to read some of these comments. I'm just going to get my tripod going here so that everyone can have slightly more stable footage, something that has been requested in the past. All right, okay. Hey, SMT, do you own any Delaware Hudson you could run? I actually do. I'm going to go try to find that locomotive right now. It's a shark nose. I'm not sure if it'll be strong enough to pull all this, but we'll try. And Bruce, welcome to the live stream. Can you run the daylight? I have 2 daylight engines, but 3 of them now, actually. None of them run, unfortunately. And there's the golden goose. So I'll leave that there so we don't drop anything. I'm pretty sure this engine runs. I can't remember. How many F40s do you have? I guess about 20, maybe a little less. They're one of my favorite types. F units are probably number 1, but I do have a fair amount. Can you run the G5? What's that? Can you run SD40-2? Yeah, we can definitely grab one of those. Okay, we got an SD40-2. Can you run that Hiawatha? I only take the Riverossi Hiawatha out on occasions. It's a bit of a princess. You usually get it all oiled up. It's just a very special engine, so it's one of the few I don't run. Hi, Harrison. Have you gotten a package recently? I sent you some fan mail, but it says it's being held. I'd like to know if you got it or not. I haven't checked the post office in about a week and a half, so I'm going to try to check that either today or tomorrow. But I don't know, to be honest with you. It's probably waiting there. The Lifelike GP38 I own I just fixed recently, got the wheels cleaned, reattached broken wires, and it's running once again. Also fixed plastic on the shell. Oh, that's terrific. Burlington Northern Santa Fe F unit. I have a shark nose. I don't remember having an F unit like that. Do you have lights on the layout? Yes, I do. I'll see if they're plugged in. Yes, they are. They might be a little hard to see. I'll shut off some of these lights, that way everyone can actually have a look at the lighting on the layout. It's still sort of hard to see, but that building's lit. There's a bunch of them along here, but the camera doesn't seem to pick it up very well. Anyways, we'll get some of these going again. Anyways, I think we'll stop these 2 and we'll try to get some other locomotives going. I think I want to try to run the SD40-2 with the Delaware Hudson locomotive. I don't know if it's going to work. It's not really great because they're not speed matched or anything. They're both just regular DC locomotives, but we'll try. Go Veer, go home. I dig the CN ES44. Is that an Intermountain? I thought it was a Dash 9. Yeah, this is just an old Athearn blue box. I paid $15 for it at a train show, and it's been a great engine. I painted it up a little bit, got the handrails covered. Unfortunately, these keep coming out of place, but it's been groovy. This is also the same locomotive I was running out in the snow, and I can't tell you how many comments I got from people saying that was going to be the end of it. It's like, well, it's an Athearn blue box. That's not going to finish it off. I was very careful to dry it off after, mind you, and give it fresh oil, but still didn't make a dang bit of difference. All right, so we've got a AHM locomotive, and I think that's a Roco. Let's make sure these go the same direction. So that one's starting. This one. Let's make sure they're both going. Yeah, this one's not running great, but we're gonna go with it anyways. I'm just gonna get a conversion car because these both have the old horn hook couplers. There we are. The CN locomotive doesn't really have very good couplers on it, unfortunately, so I think I'm going to try to find a different SD40-2. How is it that you don't have two main lines on your layout? I do to an extent, because over there it's dual trackage. So I can run two trains at the same time without actually having to keep an eye on where they go. These are most of my SD40-2s. In fact, this one actually has kind of like a special spot up here. Somebody requested a Grand Trunk engine, but that one's been having a lot of issues lately, so... Santa Fe super cheap. Yeah, we got this one. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of stumped. Oh, that's got a knuckle coupler on it. Fantastic. So unfortunately, the Delaware Hudson's not going to be able to lead the charge in this case, but I think it's still going to look nice. Something for all you Norfolk Southern people out there. Play the coupler. Yes, it does work. Darn it. So they're not the strongest group out here, but it seems to be working. I love that Delaware Hudson, the Sharknose. Where can I get one? I don't know. I just found it at a train show. They're not terribly common as far as I know, but I don't know. The old Roco engines, I don't think are super rare. There's got to be another one out there somewhere. SMT, can we get a chat time restriction? It would give you time to read requests fairly. Yeah, that would be a good idea. I don't know. You can't apply that on mobile, though. I don't know if I could go into my computer and apply it through that. But the problem is I stream from a phone, so your options are kind of limited in that case. I think I tried once, but maybe it's something I have to do more research on. Hey SMT, if you have a really small layout, is it necessary to have DCC in sound? What is your recommendation? I mean, it's a matter of preference, but for a smaller layout, I don't think having DCC is as important because you're probably not going to be running as much stuff at the same time. Like on a bigger layout, especially one with a freight yard, I think DCC is kind of a must. But for a smaller layout, just long as you're fine. Not having as many features, it's a good option. It's also way cheaper. Go Veer, go home. Where did you get any of the new Go Transit cars? They're really nice. I haven't. I'm quite tempted. Rapido's done a terrific job. I saw some at Larkspur, and they looked quite a bit nicer than my old Athearn ones. But they're a little bit on the pricey side, so I've got to think about that for a while. Wow, these two engines are doing pretty well. I'm quite impressed. Do you collect N-scale? I do, actually. This is my N-scale collection. It's a huge mess at the moment. But yeah, here are all my N-scale engines, and I've got a few consists and 2 different track options. Will a DCC sound locomotive play sounds on DC track? Modern ones will. Most DCC decoders produced, I think, with every manufacturer today will. Older ones might not. It's not terrific for them, and if you're going to do that, don't use a cheap DC controller, because cheap, like old train set controllers, like, well, something like this, for example, could fry a decoder. So if you're going to do that, get yourself at least something like an MRC Tech 2. It's just something decent. I mean, the best thing would be a really high-end one like this, but at that point, you may as well get a DCC controller. Yeah, you don't want to go frying sound decoders. They're worth like 80 to 100 bucks. Lifelike or AHM? In terms of which I would prefer, AHMs are undoubtedly better quality, but Lifelikes are usually cheaper, and they're also a little bit easier to work on. One time I ran a triple-headed train, and it ran decent. I ran old model trains that most likely struggling. Something may go wrong. Not all old trains are very strong. Yeah, a lot of them can... Well, the Atherns are usually pretty strong, but yeah, some of them are not the greatest, just because the magnets in the motors tend to deteriorate over time. They also just weren't as strong back then, the types of magnets that they were putting in them. What happens if I put a DC engine on DCC track with a DCC controller? It should be okay. You don't want to let a DC engine sit on DCC track though, because it will fry the motor eventually. But most DCC controllers have a setting to run DC locomotives, and provided you have them moving at a decent speed, it should be okay. ASMT, is Lionel overrated? Historically not. I think that all their pre-war stuff, I don't know much about it, but the stuff I have dealt with, their pre-war stuff is amazing quality. I mean, I worked on one engine which was over 100 years old, all original parts, and it was still running, which was remarkable. And their post-war Lionel stuff, like from the 50s and 60s, that stuff is awesome. But after that, I would say it's a bit overrated. I mean, at the moment, they're starting to sell plastic train sets, which are really not much better, in my opinion, than what you might buy at a grocery store. And they're selling them for like a couple $100. And that, to me, is just them using their brand to sell junky sets. Anyways, I'm not sure what to run next. I'll see what the next request is. Somebody did ask for the Centennial, so I guess we'll run that. I'm sure it's equipped to pull something like this. Can you run DCC sound-equipped locomotives on DC? Oh, okay, no, this is not a question. This is an answer. So Randall Elson says, you can run DCC sound-equipped locomotives on DC, but you'll be limited to the prime mover sounds in most cases. But like Harrison said, it's better to run them on DCC. And the thing is, too, you can buy a cheap DC controller. Like, I wouldn't recommend the old Bachmann Easy Command controllers because they're very limited in function, but you can probably buy a used one for like 50 bucks or less, probably a lot less now because not very many people want them. So that's about the same cost as a new DC controller. So if you really want to have sound, that's probably the best way to go. Hey, SMT, can you run a Union Pacific EAS 44 AC? I don't think I have one. All right, let's get this thing going. This actually is a DCC locomotive, so we'll try to type in. I think it's just set to 8 or something like that. It's set to 8 because when I got this thing, I was still using a Easy Command. This is my favorite Bachmann locomotive, by the way. This thing is such a tank. I would probably buy one again in a heartbeat. one of the few Bachmann engines where I've actually been quite impressed with the quality. It's really stood the test of time quite well. How many DCC locomotives do you have? I'm guessing around 30. I haven't actually done a count, but that would be my guess. Can you run a Southern Pacific engine? Yeah, we could probably get the cab forward out. It'd be nice to have that, try to pull this thing. Patrick Wamsley, if you have to pay several $1,000s for a Lionel locomotive, it's infuriating. They can't get the sounds correct. Yeah, exactly. That's just what bugs me. It's like Lionel used to be, I think, your average Joe's kind of like train set, you know? Like you're a kid, you have a kid and you want to get them a train set. Like that used to be it. Like that's all the stuff I have. And like they built them like tanks. And yeah, I just don't see their modern stuff. Like my uncle, he's a huge Lionel guy. He's had them since a kid, and he wanted my younger cousin to experience, you know, the same trains. So he went out and bought him a train set and sent me a link to it, and I couldn't believe it. It's all battery powered, plastic track. Like the whole thing is just ridiculous, and it cost, I think, $200. Now that is Canadian money, so if you were in the States, that wouldn't be quite as bad, but still, that's a lot of money. What's your opinion on Lifelike Proto 2000s? They're not the greatest. I am a big fan of Proto 1000 and 2000. They're basically Athearn blue boxes. They clearly ripped them off, but they're not as good quality. Especially the biggest problem with the older Proto engines is that the gears crack. So you get a lot of them from the early 2000s, which won't run just because the gears have completely split, and it will cause short circuits because you've got a wheel on each side and then a gear separating them, and when the gear cracks, they touch together and short the engine. It's pretty easy to fix, and they do sell replacement parts, but still, it's kind of ridiculous. So their later stuff is definitely better because I think they did eventually solve that. Anyways, I think now we're going to try to run the cab forward. I'm not sure if it's actually strong enough to pull a train of this size, but we'll give it a go anyways and see what happens. Kristen Yell, can you run the Rapido LRC? Yeah, sure. This that could definitely pull it. We'll run the cab forward first, but we'll let it have a go with this. It's not supposed to pull a freight train, but whatever. Hey SMT, would you love Lionel to reproduce post-war trains with high-tech mechanics inside, but post-war details on the outside? I would like if they did the opposite of that. I would like if they put the post-war mechanics on the inside and put modern detail on the outside, because even though those older engines are really loud, they're really tough, and it's modern technology which has messed them all up, because they put circuit boards and things like that, and they go bad after a certain amount of time, versus... And in the like the Lionel stuff from the 50s, it's all wires. You got a few coils. Like there's not a lot to go bad. The only thing that seems to fail on them is the drum for the I think it's called the E unit. Those sometimes fail, but even those, you know, there are some engines which have never been serviced since they left the factory, and the E unit is still working. So yeah, my problem's not what's on the inside. That's definitely it. Hey SMT, have you heard about the new Mexico Rail Runner? It's a railroad running from Belen to Santa Fe, and fleets contains 10 M36-3C and many Bombardier coaches. I haven't heard of that railroad, but I am a huge fan of the Bombardier coaches, so I'm sure it looks great. I don't know what's going on here. I'm pretty sure this is the right tender, but... Is there something I'm missing here? I think this has got to be the wrong tender. That's the big boy, not the cab Ford. Okay, that makes sense. I wasn't paying enough attention. I'm sorry. Start getting caught up reading comments. I don't even grab the right engine. Harrison, could you run an SD70 ACE? I think I've got a new one actually from Conrail, so we could probably run that. I have old lifelike switches and I have no idea how to wire them or use them. No info on social media, and I have no idea how to. Do you have any suggestions? I haven't heard of lifelike powered switches before. Maybe they had them on their what was it called? Their power lock track. But electric switches, the modern ones are way different, but older electric switches are very simple. You've got 3 wires because you've got 2 coils on the inside. One pulls the switch one way and one pulls the switch the other way, and then one's a ground. So I'll see if I can try to find an electric switch. That way I can kind of show you how this works. Somewhere down here I've got to have one, but I wouldn't know where. Yeah, I don't know where. But yeah, you got 3 wires, and you just need to wire up 2 wires to the switch, and then you wire up all 3 to, like, there's a physical switch, and it just sends power to one way or the other. They're very, very simple things. Hello, Harrison. I don't know if you have it, but if you have a Norfolk Southern engine, could you run it? I would, but we already ran it earlier in the stream, so if you go back, you can see it, but I think right now I'd like to run some other things. Could you do a series where we send you broken locomotives and you fix them and send them back? Yeah, I was doing repairs for people for a little while. This doesn't have the right coupler, I'm sorry. Darn it, this is getting trickier than I thought. I guess we'll just run this on its own. But yeah, I was doing repairs for people for a little while where they would ship engines to me, and I would do repairs and send them back. And a couple of them were quite successful, but I was running into a lot of issues with the border, because what was happening is people would send them as a job lot or something like that. So customs would get the order, and then they would want to charge fees. And what kept happening is that they would try to charge me because it was my name on the box, but the problem is that the billing address would be different because it was sent to my post office box, which is different than my banking information. So unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to pay the fees, and then that was leading to all sorts of different problems, and this happened several times. So I haven't taken any repairs ever since then because I was having to spend hours solving those issues. So plus there's just the liability too of accidentally breaking something that could be sentimental to someone. So I still do localized repairs, but I don't know. I was having a lot of issues doing repairs which involved shipping. I remember you received a Varney 2884 Yellowstone some time ago. Any updates on piecing it together? Yeah, that was an engine which I had actually bought at Larkspur Line. I haven't done anything with that at the moment. I just haven't had the time, but I do want to take care of that project, but there's just too much going on at the moment, and there are certain things which are of more priority. Yeah, look at the Rapido. It has no problems hauling this around. Gotta love it. I guess I shouldn't have. So if you sent 2 engines to fix before, I guess 2021, yeah, it's okay. I'm gonna get those done. There are some engines which people sent me which I still haven't completed, but I intend to. But yeah, at the moment I'm not taking any repairs. SMT, could you please double head the big boy with the Centennial? I guess we could try. LRC took like 2 years for Rapido to release it. Is that a short or long time? I can't tell. Hey SMT, I found an original post-war Lionel for the cheap price of 120. It was really clean, but unfortunately when I went back to the shop it was sold. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Have you ever heard a tornado siren before? I haven't. I don't really live in an area where tornadoes are very common. I sent you 2 engines about 3 weeks ago. It's all good. Those engines aren't important to me. All right. Well, I'll see what I can do. But yeah. Hello, train peoples. Welcome off the rails. Does your Milwaukee Road A-Class work? If so, could you please run it? This does work to an extent, but I don't run it very often. I do have a Fox Valley one, though, that if people want to see a Hiawatha run, I'll run that. They need to bring back the original LRC locomotives. The P42s pulling LRC stock looks horrid. I completely agree with that. I'm a huge fan of P42s myself, but the LRC cars were meant to go with LRC locomotives. It's just right. But I think right now they're probably just going to replace the whole thing with those new Charger locomotives, which don't look bad, but I'm going to be sad to see the P42s go away because those were terrific locomotives. Also, as much as I love the LRC locomotives, apparently they were not terribly reliable. My grandfather worked at Transport Canada, and he would refer to them as light, rapid, crappy instead of light, rapid, comfortable. So I don't know why. I never got the chance to ask him, but that was something he mentioned a few times. So I don't know. I couldn't have been relating to anything good. Hey SMT, how are the old repair locomotives going? How do they work? What old repair locomotives? I'm confused. Anyways, somebody requested the dipped in orange locomotive. We'll run that, and then I guess we're gonna try to double head the big boy in a Centennial. I don't know how that's gonna go. It has been done before, but I don't think I had that S curve over there, so it's gonna be interesting. But until then, we're gonna get this V-line locomotive going. I see BNSF locomotives where I work. The company I drive for is contracted with them. Well, that's cool. Do you still have the Davy Crockett locomotive? Yes, that's another project I need to get moving on, but I also need to find parts for it. What brand / model is the Australian locomotive? It's by a Cision. It's not a manufacturer I'm super familiar with because they are Australian and I don't think they make stuff for any other parts of the world, but I've been happy with it so far. Hey SMT Mainline, I made a video of my custom painted SMT Mainline passenger train which I had planned to give to you before you hit 60K, but it didn't go to plan. Check it out as you may. It will come soon. That sounds cool. Do you have any Burlington Northern units? If so, can you run one? I've got some older ones. I don't know if I have anything strong enough to pull this train, but we could have a look. Cision is a very good company. I've got a good impression of them. A lot of the reviews for their products were pretty good. They strike me as almost Australia's version of Rapido. The level of detail looks very similar, at least. Hey, SMT Mainline, Canadian Pacific or CN? I prefer CN just for their paint scheme, but it's not... My love for Canadian National is not hatred towards Canadian Pacific. They're both great railroads. Let's try not to be demanding when asking Harrison to run certain locomotives. Asking nicely is better. Run so-and-so engine. Yeah, I'll try to fulfill as many requests as I can, but... you know, the time it takes to get them on and off the track and everything like that, it's not always feasible, but I will try. Now, double heading the big boy with the Centennial. Well, first of all, I should probably pick the big boy, which actually works, which I think is this one. And I'll find the proper tender for that. I'll get it all loaded up. I think a project in the not so distant future is going to be eliminating this S-curve though. A lot of people warned me. They said, you're making a big mistake installing that. And it hasn't been horrible with every locomotive, but it seems that the larger ones just cannot handle that curve. So I've got a interesting plan, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But anyways, first let's get this all rigged up. This is not going to end well. Probably not. Having said that, the River Rossi big boys are very impressive. They've been known to apparently handle 18 radius curves, so I don't know. The Centennial definitely will derail. It already has, but will the big boy? We just don't know. I have two questions. Can you run a long passenger train with the P42 Amtrak? And second question, if you were able to sell a custom Canadian Pacific Centennial, how much would you sell it for? Canadian. I'm not really interested in selling off that locomotive, but I wouldn't sell for much if I was, because it's, I mean, it's a piece of junk. I put it together with spare parts. For anybody that doesn't know, I don't even know where it is right now. Yeah, one of my train buddies found this Centennial locomotive at a train show and bought it for $1, and then I bought it off him. I don't even know where it's gone. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Hey, you see the pun there? Hey, SMT, I found a Lifelike Go Transit F40 locomotive, which the electric motor keeps slipping on the drive shaft. Cannot pull anything because of that. Do you know how to fix this? All right, this is what you've got to do. Grab yourself some CA, put a little bit down on a surface, like a piece of paper, and very carefully put a little bit around the drive shaft. If you really want to do it right, you should probably take the drive shaft off and clean it with some rubbing alcohol first, just to get any oils or anything that might be on there. And put a very, just be careful how you do it, because if it goes wrong, you don't want crazy glue getting in your gears. But yeah, if you put a little bit of crazy glue, I find that usually will stop a slipping drive shaft. I've done it countless times and it's worked out, so. Would you rather go back in time and save the Hiawatha steam engine, or ride the Hiawatha, save it? Undoubtedly. That was one of the biggest mistakes they ever made, scrapping the Hiawatha. I'm really hoping, though, and it is a total fantasy, that with organizations that are, you know, like rebuilding the T1, that one day they'll build another Hiawatha. I don't think it's very likely, but I think a few years ago, nobody would have guessed that they were going to actually start rebuilding a T1, so it's not impossible, that's for sure. If I won the Powerball, you all know what I would do with it. Anyways, let's see here. Now, some say that this is not going to work well. I tend to agree with them, but you never know. SMT, what locomotives are on your wish list, either not made by manufacturers or previously released in model? I can't think of any at the moment. There's got to be one out there. Probably those diesel/electrified locomotives that they use in New York in the subway. They look a bit like a P42, but they're modified. Well, for some reason, the Centennial could not make a lap on its own, but with the big boy it could, and then it disconnected. So that's very unusual, but I'll say it's gone a lot better than I would have expected. I don't know, should we try for another lap? Wow, it kind of worked. Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Oh, it's shorted for some reason. I once found a Bachmann train set in a trash pile and it ran, but the drive shaft wasn't connected, and all I had to do was connect it. I didn't fix it before it fell, and the broken wire. Oh man. That's crazy though, finding a train set in a dumpster. I've heard a few stories about that. I'm pretty jealous. But that must be pretty awesome to find something like that. I once saw this video of this guy, and he'd found a whole bunch of Tyco stuff in a dumpster. That looks hilarious going around the curve. Yeah, it absolutely does. Hey, it didn't short that time. I guess I'm just not running it fast enough. Maybe that's the problem. Hey Harrison, here's a question. What Australian locomotives do you want to buy next? I don't know. Probably one with the candy bar paint scheme, though. I quite like that. And it's shorted again. I'm impressed, though. This has actually gone way better than I would have expected. SMT, probably as a Canadian, you might have heard about the Lac-Mégantic rail disaster in Quebec. Oh, yeah, I've heard all about that. That was all over the news. They were actually, I'm not super close to Lac-Mégantic, but there were tons of fundraisers in the area for the victims of that disaster. It was a pretty big event for Quebec as a province. Canada as a country, too, I would probably say. Hey, SMT, could we see 2 Bowser Canadian Pacific locomotives if we haven't already? 2 Bowser Canadian Pacifics. Oh, yeah, the ones with the older style paint scheme. Those would probably work well together. They'd definitely be strong enough to pull this. No doubt. Hey SMT, would you care to run a steam locomotive around the track with passenger cars or even freight cars? It's your choice. It would be very nice. I could probably run something. I have no idea what's going on. Do you know about the state of Oregon? Yeah, I know people from Oregon. Can you please run the beautiful Royal Hudson steam locomotive? Yes, we'll run that. And we'll run the beautiful Royal Hudson with the Canadian Pacific one. The diesel, which was requested. They'll, I think, look quite nice together. SMT, Lionel has given up bring back their HO line. Oh, they're not doing HO trains anymore? I'll have to read into that later. I would be surprised. I mean, I thought Lionel just got into HO scale stuff in like 2018 or something, which, I thought was a really good thing because it's like we need more competition in the market, but I don't know. Their stuff has been very miscellaneous. Have you ever been to Hershey Park? I can't say I have, no. I wish they still had the Hershey's factory there, though, the original one. Because I remember watching videos of like the monorail which goes around Hershey Park, and at one point it would actually go by the real factory and show it off, and what a beautiful building. All right, let's see what happens. I kind of think that this diesel is wired to go the other way, because I don't know why the wheels would be slipping. Let's see here. Wow, this thing is really messed up. Okay, you need to just give it a lot of power for some reason to go. The current draw is low, so I think the engine's mechanically okay, but I don't think DCC engine's doing very well running on DC. Unless it's just this thing shorting, but I'd be surprised. It's usually a pretty reliable engine. Let's just give it the beans and see if we'll go. Well, it looks fantastic while it's going. Of course, now they're pretty heavy in the HO market with all the steam sets using X-Mantua tooling with some of their rolling stock. Yeah, well, I mean, they like released the Polar Express set, and that seemed pretty cool. I wish they weren't selling it for such a high price, but the idea is really good. But it would be nice if they could just make some very consumer-grade train sets, like just some good budget stuff, because I believe Model Power is owned by Lionel now. I think they're the ones who have the rights to all their stuff. So if that's true, they would have a lot of designs for very budget train sets, and if they wanted to, they could start making them again. I don't know. Maybe they've done market research, and something like that is not a good idea, but to me, if they just had something, you know, everybody could afford, I think that they could actually get a section of the market which nobody's attending to right now. Like, there are no budget manufacturers anymore. Not sure which one of these keeps disconnecting. I'm guessing it's the Boston and Maine. Let's try connecting both those together. Seems okay. What's your favorite American locomotive? It's the Hiawatha, without a doubt. Yeah, a buddy of mine in the club has a Lionel Santa Fe set. It's basically the Polar Express set in a different paint scheme, and it runs pretty good. Sounds are okay. Not great, but okay. And if they were selling it really cheap, that would all be acceptable, but like those sets are worth quite a bit of money. I even tried, there was a train store in Ottawa, the Christmas Train Store, that's what it was called. And they were going out of business, so I thought, okay, here's a chance to get a deal. And lo and behold, they had the Lionel Polar Express train set, and I just thought that that was fantastic. So I asked them how much they wanted for that, and they said there's no discount on that. And I was like, yeah, but isn't everything in the store 10% off? Well, everything but the train set. And it's like, why is that? And she said, these things sell like hotcakes. It's going to move itself. I don't need to put any discount on this thing for it to go. So people are buying them, but very, very pricey. Without the used sales, young people would not be in this hobby. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, I think the biggest problem right now is that it's too expensive. Like a train set is worth almost the same amount as like a gaming console. Like, it's ridiculous. So, you know, if you're gonna compete with that, you have to have something that, you know, something a kid can buy with their allowance. So I really think that that is probably why they're having trouble right now. Run your fastest train. I wonder what would go well. I want something that can run fast and can also pull this. Oh no. Yeah, people know what's probably going to end up happening. We could just hook up an Athearn blue box to it and give it a lot of power. The Acela. He's thinking, this is definitely the fastest thing in my collection, but can't pull a train like that. So if we want to run this, that has to go off the main line. Hey, SMT mainline, I have a train. It's not working. If you can fix it, you can keep it. If you want to just send me an email, I could try to help you fix it. I'm happy to give anybody any advice they need on repairing stuff. Get your popcorn, boys. Gee, I think I'm just going to put this CN locomotive right here on, and we're just going to give it the beans and see what happens. Can you tell me what the video is called where your train ran off the layout? Oh, the one where the Acela flew off the corner over there? I don't think that the I think I took the live stream down because I said quite a few swears. You know, I wasn't very happy. My engine got destroyed even though it was my own fault. So, yeah, I don't know. There are re-uploads of that are in and around the internet. Just like search up SMT fail compilation, you'll find it. Although whoever made that added a whole bunch more bleeps to sound like I was swearing way more, just make it funnier. I don't know. All right, folks. Hasn't even left the gates. I never expect you to swear. Well, I try not to in my YouTube videos there, because, you know, it's not super polite, but, no, if I don't know, you destroy an engine like that, I think it's worth swearing for. Speaking of derailments, yeah, that's right. What's your favorite Canadian locomotive? The, 210-2? I'm not sure. I have to think about that one. Okay, let's have another go. I think this time it's gonna work. Okay, that's good, that's good. Yeah, that's not bad. I wouldn't call it the fastest engine in my collection, but the fact that it's able to haul that is pretty impressive. Sounds like a mini lawnmower. It does a little bit. Anyways, I think we'll ease it down a little bit now. Nathan Delay, welcome to the live stream. I have two Walters Trainline GP15s. The first one was knocked off the table by my cat and it broke. It still ran though. The other one I bought because the other one broke and it hasn't broken yet. Well, that's good to hear. I mean, I bought one about a year ago, and so far it's been fine. I hope it lasts, because it's the cheapest HO scale locomotive you can currently buy brand new, so that's impressive, but time will tell. What time is it for you? At our house, it's 10:22. It's the same time right here. It's Eastern Standard Time. Run your cab forward with the Go Transit cars, because it's fun. I would run it with the Go Transit cars, but I don't even know what sort of coupler this is. I have to replace this. Oh, you know what this is? This is one of those European couplers, which they used to use a long time ago. I've got an idea which might fix that, actually. Someone edit that clip. What clip? Yeah, I noticed recently. See, that's got a regular coupler and it's got one of those weird ones on the back, so maybe we just hook that up. I've got a good feeling about this. All right, so step one's complete. Now we just need to find the conversion car, which I'm really good at losing. Where has NerfCat been lately? I'd love to see NerfCat ride on one of the trains. Attach a capit to the train and we'll see if he will ride. I don't know. It's probably because it's the summertime. He's just spending a lot of time outside. I've lost the conversion car. Oh, actually, I see what I did with it. So here's what we've got happening. Oh no, it already came off. This seems kind of messed up too, I don't know. So we've got a European coupler to horn hook to knuckle. There's 3 different kinds here. SMT, I have a question. Oh, fire away. Just gonna grab a tripod here. What's the best train for beginners? Probably the Walters GP15. That'd be what I'd probably buy if I was getting into the hobby. If you're looking for a train set, I'd probably suggest just buying a really cheap Bachmann one, but avoid the expensive Bachmann train sets, because the thing is that those sets are not a very good value for your money. You'd probably be better off buying 2 cheap Bachmann train sets than buying one expensive one. Where did you get that tripod? I think it was off of Amazon. We're gonna have to bend that coupler to make this work. think so. What's your most expensive locomotive? It's a Bachmann branch line from Europe. It's an E2 steam locomotive. Oh, gee, I really don't know if this is all gonna work. That's lost power. Big boy plus the cab forward. I don't know. Now the back of the train is disconnected. And now that's derailing. Wow, what a disaster. Hey SMT, can you run your favorite steam locomotive? Me personally, I think both you and us, the viewers, enjoy running it around. That's a very positive idea. Yeah, we can run some steam engines. I need to get this thing off though, because it's got these weird couplers, and I thought this would work, but apparently not. Hey SMT, can you run a Burlington Northern or Conrail engine? I wish there was a Burlington Northern steam engine that I could do both at the same time. Yeah, we'll run the Conrail first because that's been requested for a long time. We'll run this old bucket of bolts, see if it will be strong enough to pull this train. It's got a lot of issues, but we might just do it. Run the big boy with the cab forward. Yeah, but the couplers aren't the same. I couldn't even run it with a train. Have you ever thought about getting an MBTA train for your collection? I think it would be nice. How much was a big boy? I've bought them, I think, for as low as $115 on eBay. I mean, I bought them in non-working order, but... major props to Rocco. Harrison, I recently got a 1995 N-Scale GP7. It runs, but it sounds rough. It smells a bit burny even after a few seconds of running. Do you have any tips on how to make it run better? I mean, the first thing I do is just open it up and clean out the gearbox, make sure there's no dust, hair, lint, things like that, and, you know, clean everything up. But, the thing that, if you're smelling burning from the motor, it's probably the commutator. It's, actually, this is a bad example. Yeah, often what happens over time is the little gaps right here, these get full of carbon, and it will start to create smoke. So clean that part out and things should be good. Hey, SMT Mainline, I have a fun idea. Grab as many Lifelike GP38s as you can and run them all together. They are all going to be the same loco. I'd love to see how that would go. Sounds like big trouble. We'll run the steam engine and the CSX locomotive. Think about that. Nathan Delay, Harrison, when will the Hershey factory be done? It's interesting how you do future buildings on the rest of your layout. I don't know when it's going to be done. It's very, very close to completion. I know I've been saying that for a while, but like it really is like 90 to 95% of the way there. So I don't think it's going to be too much longer, especially now that the weather is starting to get cold again. I'm going to start spending less time outside and more time in the basement. So that will probably be good for that project. Yeah, as for building other buildings, it's been a terrific learning experience. I never scratch built any building before I built that. So it's been a real learning curve, but if I ever wanted to build something else, it would be a lot easier now. Run the bullet. Yes, that's a perfect steam engine. All right. Somebody wanted me to run one of my favorite steam engines. We have a request for a steam engine, which is actually one of my favorites. And it's a really solid locomotive, so it's good all around. I'm just going to try this. Harrison, do you like rail fanning? I do like rail fanning. Unfortunately, the Ottawa area doesn't have a lot to rail fan because it's just not terribly industrious around here anymore. But yeah, when I get the chance, it's a lot of fun. Coupler broken or something on this? No, it looks fine. We're gonna try to just kind of slam it. Do we have to do this manually? Now the engine doesn't want to start. Oh, I had the momentum on. If that broke that engine, just giving it a little nudge like that, I think I'd want to throw it out. It was only a $30 engine, and for a Bachmann Spectrum, that's actually a pretty good deal, but yeah, I'd hope for more than that. I remember I was gonna buy a really nice Athearn Santa Fe -9, but it was sold before I could buy it. I found a replacement, only to find it sold a day later. Can't find it online. I don't think those are terribly rare, so I wouldn't be too concerned. Another one will probably pop up soon enough. I think I paid like 70 Canadian for mine, which is about 50 bucks. SMT, if you ever want to try another video game, I have some good ones, such as BMG Drive. I was playing BMG Drive back when I don't know, it was like 2013 or something. It was not very advanced. It still had the Unity sign when you started it. He's right, CSX will pull it. It's struggling on this section, but yeah, it's doing it. That's weird. Something derail? I don't understand. It's made it through here before. Hi, Harrison. It was nice to see a live stream. For the next one, can you please run a Hiawatha with a bunch of passenger cars? Maybe so. The Southern Pacific cars might not look bad with it. I don't understand why this engine's struggling so much. It was doing fine in the beginning. Oh man, it's hardly pulling the train now. Huh. Oh well. Now here's that steam engine which has been promised. And it is the 6060. Nathan Delay, what's your strongest Tyco locomotive? And try not to promote when you watch my video. It's called How Strong Is My Tyco? Do you think about... Okay, Nathan Delay did a video where he was showing how long, how big a train he could pull with his Tyco, and I think he ended up pulling something crazy like 20 or 40 cars. I haven't been successful with pulling too many cars with my Tycos because most of the ones I buy are pretty clapped out and the traction tires have been run right off them. I would be surprised if I could pull more than 20 cars with one. The fact to see a power torque actually working with more than 10 cars behind it, though, is impressive in my opinion. All right, get ready to see a lot of wheel slipping. This might be a bit too heavy for this engine, but we're gonna try. I think if we get enough speed built up, it will make it around the other bend. The layout is slightly slanted just because the basement floor has some uneven spots. So it's actually gonna start going uphill in a moment here. Oh, it's struggling. Wow, I'm very impressed to see the Mahano engine is actually out pulling the Spectrum. Remember the good old days of not showing your face. Yeah, that was way back when, almost 5 years ago. And that thing got a lot of wheel. Yeah, this one thing, the Mahano engines are really good quality, I find, you know, for what you pay, but they don't have a lot of weight to them. So the second you start pulling it, the wheels slip pretty bad. But like, this is a reasonably sized train. The fact it can pull this is a good sign. The 80s Bachmann GP40 I told you about in the last stream, the motor actually, for some reason, has a stalling issue. It sounds like a broken wire on one of the coils. If the motor's jamming up and it's not the drive seizing, then it's probably got a broken wire. It's a very rare problem, but it can happen. It started off with slip, but it's moving. Yeah, you know what? I'm proud of this engine. This was one of my very first. It was my first large steam engine. It was my second steam locomotive, and it's been nothing but a joy. One of my favorite locomotives, definitely. Yeah, let's slam on the brakes though and watch it slide for a moment. Yeah. That's not great for the motor, but you get the point. Try the super chief. We could try to push the train back and forth. It's not going to be able to go around corners, but yeah, we can see what kind of pulling capacity it has. My dream is to be able to get this thing running around the entire layout. the guys at the train club would probably hate it, but I brought it to one of my train clubs, and they were all laughing about this. They thought it was the funniest thing. I always giggle. Yeah, I know it is. It's like those stretched limos, which are longer than they should be. All right, is it strong enough to push this train? Yes, apparently so. Oh boy. As a former engineer, I'm sorry on your behalf. Have you heard of the Williams Grove Historical Steam Engine Association? We have the last Pennsylvania Railroad steam locomotive, number 643. I can't say I have, but thank you for sharing that. Does the road crossing over there work? The lights on this do light up, but they don't blink, unfortunately. A lot of people starting to spam if moderators... If you keep doing it, the moderators are going to boot you out. SMT, get these people out. What can you do? Oh my goodness, I don't know what that was about. The story of how my lifelike GP38 broke one day is I was running it with my sister. She put a toy on the track and I ran into it, tips over onto the floor. Well, that's unfortunate. Hey SMT, I put 14 cars behind a two Tyco Chattanoogas. And it worked? I think the layout would need 15 radius curves for this to work. Do you have any farm equipment on your layout? I do somewhere. Yeah, right there. Little, well, unfortunately it is a John Deere, but it's a tractor. I think that's about it. SMT, I'll have to leave soon. Can you run the Canadian Pacific 260? 260. That's a 460, so I don't know which that is. Maybe the Camelback? I mean, the 462. Yeah, it's got to be a Camelback, I think. Who here is a train geek? Oh, I'm definitely not. I definitely don't like model trains. Do you have any BNSF trains? Yeah, I've got a -9. Harrison, do other companies make the Hiawatha train? I want to know. Would it be an impossible question? In HO scale, there's a company called Fox Valley, which makes a model of the Hiawatha. I own one copy of it. Seems decent. Alright, time to let the wheel slipping fest continue. I don't think that this is going to be strong enough to pull this train, but we're going to let it try. I need to even check to see if this thing has a coupler. It's not terrific. If we jiggle the throttle, it will get a bit of grip. Oh, yeah, it's moving again. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to get that any further. I guess we'll just have to send out a second one to go save it. So here's something from the C&O Railroad. Chesapeake in Ohio, I guess it is. I don't know if Anton Bruce is still in here, but shout out to him. He actually sent this locomotive as a donation for the channel. It's possible to run a back-to-back double header on your layout. It definitely is possible. I don't know if it is with these engines, because the couplers on the front might just be decorative. Alright, now we have enough horsepower to actually move this. Can we try running the Pemco F7? Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see that thing go. Okay, so let's see if we can get this all to work together now. First order of business, actually get those coupled up together. All right, it's all coupled up. This actually does have a real coupler on the front, which must have been a modification because I don't think that that does. Nice. What's your most modified locomotive? I bought a scratch-built T43 locomotive, which is actually an Australian locomotive. And, no, not Australian, Swedish, sorry. And then I had to kind of rebuild it. I had to give it a new motor, new flywheel, new contacts, new wiring, add a decoder. So I modified an already very modified locomotive. The shell and stuff, somebody, that was built in the factory, but everything else was scratch built. Out of an Athearn Blue box, at least for the drive, which is really good. How's your Pennsylvania T1 locomotive? Nothing's happened with it yet, but I do want to try to get that thing going soon. These are working quite nicely together. Can you give us an update on the Blue Goose? Nothing's happened with it lately. Chris Danielle, SJT43. Yep, that's the one. Hello, SMT. I am 3 away from 100 subscribers. I got to last week to scale trains road with my hometown model railroad after a year since I originally sent them a messenger. It was a blast. Well, best of luck getting to 100 Idaho Rail Fan. Maybe some people will jump in and help you out there. Do you mostly use DC or DCC locomotives? The majority of my collection is DC. I visited a hobby store today and they were selling a River Rossi GG1 for 140 and a Tyco Santa Fe GP20 for 70. My goodness. Hey, Tia, I used to have a friend whose dad made an HO scale loco fly and recreated the ice scene in the Polar Express with an HO scale version of the Polar Express. I'm scared about it. Well, that sounds awesome. Fix the Blue Goose soon. I think it's broken. I mean, I could try putting it on the track and running it. I don't think it's gonna go. Yeah, I was pretty sure that that was what was going on. I'll have to open that up and try to figure out why. Broken, yeah. Can you please run your Mahano Canadian Pacific 462? 462. Gee, I'm really sorry. I don't know which engine that is. Canadian Pacific 462, and unless maybe it's not by Mahano, could be made by somebody else. I guess that's a possibility. That's 460. That's got 4 wheels on the front. How many does it have on the back? Where goes the front off that? Oh, lo and behold, 462. This has got to be the most common problem that any River Rossi engine from that time frame has. I'd probably run this along with the other engines since it's all Mahano. Hopefully they're naturally speed matched. How are the Athearn SW7s? The blue box ones are pretty good. I mean, they're not like incredible runners. They're pretty loud, but if you just want a cheap engine, which will get the job done, it will do it. Okay. I think this one could probably use some maintenance, actually. How do you speed match DC locomotives? You can't, but if you get two locomotives that are the same kind and they're the same age and everything, most of the time they're close enough where they'll work well together. I was hoping since this one was the same make as those two, they would... So like River Rossi took speed matching very seriously. I wanted to make sure all of his engines ran at the same speed, so I was hoping it was going to be the same case with this, but I guess not. Although, oh, it is a Mahano. It's an older one than both of those. Mahano. Wow, somebody wanted me to run this really clapped out F unit, which I bought by Pemco. Move these back a bit so they don't go falling off my shelf. Fix the Blue Goose live. I could give it a try. Anyways, for anybody who doesn't know the story on this locomotive, a few months ago I was at a train show and there was an entire table of stuff and they were selling every single item on it for $1. And I came across this locomotive which was in very poor condition, and the guy who was selling it said that it was hopeless. This engine was never going to run again. So I bought it pretty much just for that reason. And she lives on. Doesn't even hesitate. That's so great. SMT here, my YouTuber, please never stop making content. Hearing well, folks, makes me smile. I'm happy to hear it. I'll try my best. Can you make a locomotive collection video? I bet the collection has multiplied by 10 times since your last one. Absolutely. I think that if the channel should ever hit 70,000, which is a pretty ambitious goal, but not impossible, then I will. But we'll see. Time will tell. Anyways, I'm not so sure what to run now. BNSF-9. Ah, heck, why not? Do you own the Paramarquette 1225 in HO scale? I was wondering because my favorite locomotive. I don't, but I wish I did, because that's also the Polar Express's locomotive. What do you use to clean wheels? I bought some used trains, probably overpriced, and the wheels have some buildup. I was going to use a Dremel, but I'm not sure it won't damage the wheels. Yeah, I probably wouldn't use a Dremel if I were you. If you have a track cleaning sponge, like a Bright Boy, I think that will work. You can buy what's called a fiberglass pencil on eBay. Those work pretty well. They're like $8. And if you don't have either of those, just buy some sandpaper, but buy a really high grit. So buy like 1,000 grit or 2,000 grit or something like that. Because you don't want to use a coarse sandpaper. It will scrape off all the metal. But if you've got really crummy old wheels that have a lot of buildup on them, yeah, a little bit of sandpaper, just as long as it's not coarse, will work wonders. Alright, so it seems like everybody wants me to try to fix the Blue Goose on a live stream, so I guess we'll try to do that. I'd make no promises of getting it going again, but I guess we will try. Are you gonna get an FEF3? I don't know what that is. I'm gonna get some of these just put away first. All right, I think we'll call that tidy. Well, folks, in today's restoration, that's more like it. I need a flatheads. It's always when I need one that I don't have one around. It's probably under one of these locomotives. Harrison, if you brought all your trains to Northlands, would they all fit in Northlands? Because I guess your collection would be all the Northlands could take. I think Northlands could probably fit my collection and then some. I mean, that place is ridiculously large. I've never been there, but I've heard it takes an hour to tour. Something seems a little off here. So there's our problem. That's just slipping. Is that a Riverossi? Yes, it is. For cleaning wheels, use 90% isopropyl alcohol and a cotton swab. Isopropyl alcohol will work to remove carbon and oil buildup, but it will not remove oxidization. So that's why I suggest sandpaper or a fiberglass pencil, because this will remove the oil and whatnot, but it will also scrape off the oxidization, which in the case of most older engines which have brass wheels is a pretty common issue. So this part needs to get replaced. The problem is I don't have any more heat shrink tubing, so that's a bit of a problem. One option could be to try to apply some CA on here, and it might work, but I have to be very, very careful because there's a bearing right there, and if the CA goes in there, it's going to bugger up the whole drive, which is not what we want. So, yeah, gee, I don't know. What do all of you suggest? We could just pull this motor out and then add the, if only we had told him. Best option would be to wait for a suitable replacement. Well, I want to get this thing going now, so I don't know. I think maybe the best option would be just to pull this part out and add some CA. This is a repair video now. Kind of. Go for super glue, just be careful. Yeah, I think this should work. I use really small fuel tubing like you'd use on your weed whacker or chainsaw. I'll have to look for something small enough to suit that, because I've heard that before. I don't know if my hardware store would carry fuel lines small enough, though. Well, I guess I better head out. Just looked at the board. Number 1 already means I guess I got called for a trip any minute later. Well, thanks for stopping by, Randall Ellison. So let's put that there. Always, if you're using CA on something, never apply it directly with the bottle, because in all likelihood you're going to end up getting it on something you don't want to. So this is a much better way to apply CA quite precisely. So you can just get like a little bit on a toothpick like that, and let's do that. So it kind of looks like there's some lubricant and stuff on there. Maybe not. Uh-oh. I feel like I'm going to end up messing something up here. How many trains do you think you've repaired so far? I would guess at least over 100. Because I haven't, you know, I don't know how many restoration videos I have on here, but I've also done repairs offline. You know, sometimes there's just a repair which I just don't think people are going to be interested in, so I just do it on my own and kind of take my time with it. Oh, this is a very awkward angle. Okay, uh-oh. Stuck that to my skin. How many trains do you think you own? I guess about 400. So I should probably let that CA dry for a little bit. Might be too permanent. What's the rarest locomotive in your collection? The Hiawatha. Those are quite sought after because they didn't make very many. Hey SMT, well, we are here. Can you fix that chassis system life like GP38 you got in a box you unboxed not too long ago? I'd like to see why it's not getting power. That isn't that one I just repaired, eh? Unboxed not too long ago. Oh, the Lionel, yeah. I don't know, I think I better do that another time. What locomotive did you waste the most amount of time on? Oh boy. Months ago I'd got some sort of a sea liner. I'd bought it in an eBay lot, and I tried really hard to get that thing going, and it just was not working out, and I couldn't figure out why. And the motor, I checked the brushes, I checked everything, it just was not working. So I was like, okay, maybe it's got bad coils. So I attempted to rewind the motor, which is something I really probably wouldn't recommend anybody try to do unless you're super talented, because it's a very complicated process. Anyways, I tried rewinding the motor. That didn't work. So then I scrapped that idea and I tried to install one of these motors. Well, I was not smart, and I didn't make sure that this motor could actually fit in place of the old one. So I got the whole drive and it was working perfectly, and I tried to put the shell on. It doesn't fit. So I think I spent an entire day working on that, and by the end of the day I just ended up scrapping the whole project because it was such a disaster. So yeah, that was probably the engine I wasted the most amount of time on, because there have been other projects that I've spent a ton of time on, but the thing is that at the end of the day I've actually got a nice engine out of it, like the what was it called? The Hobbytown locomotive. I think it's an RS3, and that was a piece of junk when I bought it. Something I think a lot of people would probably just want to throw in the garbage, but and I wanted to throw it out several times because I kept trying to fix it and it wasn't working out. But I kept at it, and by the end I got a working engine, and it looks kind of cool and everything. And that ended up being one of the most popular restorations I've ever done, and I think it's because there was so much effort put into it. But I didn't even think that one was going to work out. So that's what I'm having trouble figuring out. Why does this not want to go on here? There we go. I think those screws are completely stripped. Oh, they're not. They're a different kind. These were motor mounting screws. So these aren't even supposed to be in here, really. There we go. Well, we have got the locomotive back together. Why don't we take it over to the track and see if it actually works? Hey, SMT, what other childhood hobbies did you have? When I was a kid, I was in soccer for a little while, but that was about it. Other than that, I rode horses, which I still do to some extent, and gee, what else? That was about it. I don't know. Well, I guess I wasn't doing that much as a kid. I have way more hobbies now than I used to, I'll tell you that. Just trying to figure out where I put the tender. All right, well, what do all of you think? Have I cracked the code or just wasted 20 minutes? Yeah, I like that. I wouldn't take it easy. I wouldn't strain it too much. Yeah, I mean, that adhesive has probably not even dried, but I mean, let's do a couple burnouts just to be sure. Whoops. I think it's solid. I wouldn't try to pull this train with it just yet, but the drive doesn't take much strain. You see the wheels just spin out before the drive gives place. So hopefully that will hold on for a while. I mean, what I really need to do is replace that drive shaft because it's just not a very good thing. But as a quick fix, I think that will probably hold for a little while. I'm sure the main central didn't need that boxcar anyway. Yeah, whatever's in there, it doesn't matter. Hopefully it's not TVs or something like that. Run some GG ones. All right, well, I think I'm going to finish off the live stream pretty soon, but we can definitely run a couple GG ones before we're completely done here. But I'm happy we were at least able to get an engine running once again. And the next live stream, hopefully it will still be in working order, and when somebody requests it, it can go. Hey SMT, in a somewhat recent video, you received a reading 280 locomotive in the mail. If you run that one, it will be, I'll share a bit of interesting history about them. I think you're talking about the Bachmann one someone sent recently. Yeah, that. I would love to run that, but unfortunately it doesn't run. We did test it in that video. Before you go run all your... Yeah, gosh darn it. I think it's possible that's the only Lifelike GP38 I actually own. Yeah, maybe so. I wish this had a coupler. Yeah, we'll run this. make a drive shaft inside of a ballpoint pen. I have 28 Rivarossi steamers now on it. Huh. Well, there's a new idea. I guess I could try that. And I assume you take like a lighter to heat up the metal to get it to form to the right shape. I don't know. That's an interesting idea. I'll have to try it. Speaking of interesting ideas, this was a locomotive which was donated to the channel from a subscriber a couple years ago actually. And they'd sent 3 other Rivarossis, and all 3 of them were junked because the motors had rusted away. And I think I ended up getting most of them going by replacing the motors, but the motors that were in those engines I tried to repair, and it was a disaster. So this was the final one, which had a completely messed up motor. But this time I did something very unusual. I just put the motor in vinegar for a couple days, and the vinegar ate away all the rust that was in there. And it actually was able to save the locomotive, believe it or not. This is not something I would recommend. But it did manage to save this engine, because the acid in the vinegar, it probably could eat away at the insulation on the windings. So, you know, if you have a rusty motor, the best thing to do would be to take it apart. But I had already tried that twice and ended up destroying the motors because they were just so corroded that when I tried to take them apart, the commutators or some other part would break, and then the whole thing would be messed. So it was just sort of like an experiment, and it worked out surprisingly well. I flushed out the motor with rubbing alcohol to get the acid out of it too. It's actually a pretty good runner. It's so fast it almost tipped over there. Actually, I'll try to show everybody the motor. So I think all you have to do is just lift, yeah, there it is. So you can even still see some of the rust that the vinegar didn't get at. But what I did was I just snipped off these wires, and then I took a bottle which was the same size as this motor, filled it up to the top with vinegar, and then I just dropped the engine in like that. So the wheels and everything else were outside the vinegar, but the motor was completely submerged. Strangest repair I've ever done. Hiawatha with some passenger cars. We could just haul some freight cars. Are all the wheels driven on a Model Power E7? I think they are. Let's have a look. I moved a lot of stuff around like a month ago, and it's all disoriented because I was keeping things in a different spot, and now they're all over the place, so. Oh well, I can't find the Model Power I was looking for, but this is still a Model Power, so we'll try this. Yep, all-wheel drive. Now, any Ferromex locomotives? I don't think I have any. I do have the DE and ME or whatever, the other railway that operates out of Mexico. That's an E8. Same drive. Yeah, so the Hiawatha. Try to get this going. This engine has a bit of a tendency to derail sometimes, but I'll go with it anyways. Did I see an Indiana Railroad GP38? I don't think I have one. What was your starter set train? We'll run it as the last train of the night. How's about that? I don't think I'm gonna try to pull this with that locomotive though, because it's really rough. I don't know what that was about. Do you have any tips for installing DCC in a blue box Athearn? Try to do as much as you can to make the drive work efficient. Like really do a lot of work on the motor, because one of the big problems with the old blue boxes is the current draw tends to be about 1/4 of an amp, give or take. So if you can get it running as efficiently as possible, be doing just under 1/4 of an amp, that's perfect for a DCC decoder. What you don't want is more than 1/4 of an amp, because then you're really starting to push the decoder. And I've had a couple Athearn blue boxes actually burn out their decoders or mess them up because of that. So that would be my advice. What's the status of the cheap Amazon American Freedom Train locomotive? Last I knew it needed some parts. Could you please run it? It still is missing parts, and last time I tried to run it, it was derailing, but that seems to be the case with most Bachmann locomotives, so I'm not sure. Actually, I think I'm gonna have the Hiawatha back these cars off the main line. That way, some other things. All right, so as requested, my very first locomotive. As you can see, it's had some years of work put on it. It's kind of a piece of junk, but this is one of my favorite engines. It's probably not worth $5, but even if somebody offered me $1,000 for this thing, I wouldn't sell it. Very, very sentimental. And she still runs. Doesn't sound Definitely not running that well, but yeah, it's doing okay. Something sounds off with the drive. Yeah, I don't know. Something's a little off, but it's still going. How many Boston and Maine / Maine Central engines do you own? Probably about 5. Actually, there's one I'd probably like to try to run. This was an engine by Stewart, and I got it as a birthday gift when I was, I think, 7 years old or something like that. I ran the snot out of this engine, and it's not in good shape. Wow, is it seriously completely dead? Yeah, there's power in the track, but she's not going. Wow. This is a Stewart locomotive. I'm really surprised. Should we open up the drive and see what is going on with it? Ah. She does not have a decoder. Don't know where that's gone. Yeah, this engine's definitely quite messed up, but I don't know if there's a decoder. I could just try to throw that in there. Or if I can maybe just jump some of the wires. You probably need 4 pins. Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to think of something that would have a decoder I could plug in. So I don't think I've got any DC decoders. SMT, do you think that milling down the wheels on a Bachmann steam locomotive to make the flanges larger would stop it from derailing? It's the world's worst train for derailing. What do you do? That might work. I haven't done it myself, but Yeah, I think fundamentally that's why Bachmann engines have so many derailing issues. Mahano put large flanges on their steam engines. Rivarossi put large flanges on their steam engines. A lot of manufacturers did, and most of those don't seem to have those issues, even though they're larger in some cases. Oh. I don't know what this is from, but it looks right. I don't know what I got that out of, but ooh, it's pulling a lot of amperage. Oh, what the? Oh, yeah, that's weird. So this is what I don't understand. It will start going full tilt, and then it will start pulling like that's an entire amp for an engine like this. That's not right. Oh, and then nothing. And now it's back to high current draw. See, why has it got intermittent current draw? See too if we got a crispy decoder from after that. Oh, that is very warm. It's got high current draw again. And the headlight seems to be completely busted or something. I don't know what's going on with that, but it doesn't seem to want to light up anymore. Yeah, low current draw. Well, this might be one of the most mysterious engines I own. Well, I have no idea what's going on with this locomotive, but at least we got it running. It looks cool. Yeah, it is a very sharp locomotive. I wish it ran the way it did, but I messed it up when I was younger, so not much I can do about that. Anyways, I think I'm going to finish off the live stream. Thank you all so much for joining in this evening. I had a lot of fun running the trains with all of you, and I hope you enjoyed just as much. And with that, I think I'd like to say thank you all so much for watching.